everybody. It's nice to be here with Fanny Béguély. She screened her film Pneuma to our festival this year, and we are very glad to have her here to talk about her film. So welcome, Fanny.
Thank you, Laura. I'm very happy to be here.
Great.
Virtually, but here.
Great. I'm also very glad to talk with you because your film was one of those who really impressed me a lot. So now I will ask you some questions about it, how you came to make this film. So actually, yeah, my first question is just about how you came to make this film. This film is I just make a short premise. This film is a very personal one. Fanny talks about the story of her family, and her family members are also part of the film. So yeah, how you came to make this film? How were the relationships with the other members of the family, and how did this film maybe change your relationships with them? I guess if ever it happened.
Yeah, so actually, I was lucky enough to grow up surrounded by forests and developing a kind of sense of sharing with nature. And at the same way, I was raised and my family and all the members of my family into a very Catholic tradition. And I felt very early that all this dichotomic culture, Christian culture, which create a very deep and rooted now separation between body and spirit, between good and evil, was totally obsolete in contact with nature. And I think that, I carried this contradiction within me very long. And I wanted, to investigate a bit in this area. And I made a lot of research, and I was very interested in this anthropological field that we call um, um, perspectivism, Amérindian perspectivism, which try to deconstruct the separation between nature and culture. And I wondered why I felt so close from this worldview, which was so far from the culture I grew up. So I wanted with this film to maybe try to make a kind of diagnostic, but in a kind of very personal way indeed, because the question of our relationship with nature and also to ourselves as nature is a very big question. So I thought that it was by assuming I mean something a bit more personal, that I will be able more to raise common and shareable thinking and images. That was the beginning of the project. Try to put all these questions all together. And I don't know. For your question, is that change something from a family to has been put it in a kind of fictionalized way in this diagnostic? I don't know. In a way, I think that a lot of members of my family has made their own travel, their own evolution concerning this Christian tradition, Christian heritage. And I think that, it was time for us to maybe assume something which has taken distance from it, and to maybe reconnect the thread of another heritage all together. So the moment of the shooting, and especially after, was very intense and moving, because also, yeah, the story of my family, it's a bit something strong, and this garden, the image of the garden you saw, which has been shot on the dark at the end of the film, is actually our garden, our original garden in a way. So it was interesting to use this as a kind of symbolic, original garden, as in Christian religion. And it's a kind of place that we have been ejected in a way, even physically, during our history altogether, because we no longer live in this house. And so it was very, carried a lot of history, and so, yeah.
Yes, thank you. One thing I found very interesting also about your film is the fact that it's composed by material footages, kind of images that are very different to each other. Like it's like there are a lot of levels, narrative levels that are intertwined. And I found very interesting this aspect of mixing such personal images, like for example family movies of your childhood, the childhood of your family, of your sisters and brother, and then these very scientifical images, very very clean, very it's like you try, I mean, at least this is the impression that I had, and I want to ask you if it's something you also felt. I felt it's like you try to approach this topic both by a personal point of view and by a kind of scientific point of view. We see the microscope images and botanical images. So yeah, is this something you also felt while doing the film?
Yeah, actually, at the beginning of the project, I was thinking of doing a video and vegetal installation, because the film was produced in a place called Le French, which is a studio of contemporary art. And yes, I wanted to make something which was supposed to unfold in the space and to approach the subject in different levels. But little by little, I had a very burning desire to put in a more filmic narrative. So I tried to connect all these different parts and to put all this together, but also to keep this heterogenic aspect of images, of different nature of images, and also of genres. And yeah, I was very interested into this question of breath. Pneuma, it's a term which refers to breathing, because in breathing we constantly deny our separation, deny the separation between what is self and not self, what is inside, outside. And these scientific images that you saw in the film is actually cyanobacteria, which are the first organism capable of photosynthesis. They are it's cyanobacteria who created the atmosphere 3 and 8 billion years ago, converting the solar energy into chemical energy, and which permits basically us to breathe, to being alive. So in a way, it's funny maybe to realize that, yeah, they are our creators. I mean, it's thanks to bacteria, cyanobacteria, and plants that we are able to be in this world. So that's why I wanted to have these very clear pictures of with a different scale, and it's micro cinematography, so that they can appear as titanic characters, like in a way primordial deities or something like this. Yeah, so that's why something I wanted really to put in a dialogue with these other kind of images, because it's a film talking about the coexistence also. So I found that this sensation of coexistence has to be translated in these different levels also, not to try to make a linear, but more to show different level of life and how they respond in a direct or indirect ways.
Yes, it's very interesting. And yeah, you just reminded me to that sentence in the film, these are the titans. I like that moment very much. It's really like linking your personal story to really to another level, like mythological, but it's in the same time mythological, but also very uh, very much linked to the matter, because it's you are observing with a microscope something. So it's yeah, it was very interesting, that specific moment of that sentence linked to that image. And also um, it brings a thought about, yeah, while you are on different levels, your perception of reality changes completely. Like something that we usually are used to consider so small that we cannot even see, in that moment become like titans. And that's also very interesting. Yeah, and another aspect of your film is the fact that you mix documentary um, with fictionalized scenes. Like it's not just a documentary about your family, but you also create scenes and put the members of your family in yeah, some scenes that are fictionalized. Or also you create that scene, that very also beautiful image of those dresses that are hanging from trees. So I wanted to ask you, is it something you used to do, like to mix documentary form with other forms, like for example more fictive form, or is it, or was for you the first time you tried to mix these things?
Actually, it's the first time.
Okay.
I had no preconceived idea about that, or desire to put this all together. But when I was writing the film, it has been evident that, yeah, I wanted to make a kind of space and time traveling, and to make to give voice to ancient pagan cosmology, which are still living actually in some places. Actually, what you said about this dress on trees were shot in the north of France. And yeah, it's a very interesting place where people are coming, mostly in the night, to hang some of their clothes, which has been in contact with their sick part of their body. So it's really a kind of pagan rituals who are still living now. But actually, yeah, I wanted to. I wanted to make a film which talk about plants as pharmacon. Uh, I mean, as cure, but also as poison, and also as a scapegoat. I mean, yeah, during my research in botany, when I was writing the film, I discovered a lot of popular myths, beliefs, and knowledge which was in a very close relationship with nature, with a kind of otherness, with non-human circulation. And I wanted to give voice to this practice, which actually has been confiscated by church or Christianized during the time of witch hunts, during the beginning of the exploitation of land, and also expropriation of knowledge, popular knowledge, which has beginning in the 16th, 17th centuries, and what Starhawk, this ecofeminist, talk about the beginning of the culture of distancing, which still characterizes our modern world. So I think that it was interesting, to mix fictionalized part, but also more documentary level, to be able to unfold of all the different levels of this question, all the different temporalities, and also to be able to reclaim in the present a kind of different heritage also. So I think that, it was not interesting to be only in fiction or only in documentary. And I think that, even this distinction for me are not really pertinent in some ways, because,
it was definitely a very interesting choice for me as well to watch all these different levels. And what I felt about, especially about the fictionalized scenes with your family, the scene on the bed, for example. What I found very interesting is the fact that is fiction. You can understand that those persons have decided, there is someone who has decided to put them in those positions, in that moment, in that scene. In the same time, it's like what I felt is like is not the same feeling that I would feel as if I watch a scene from a movie with actors, because the fact that I know that they are the same characters that I see in the family movies makes me watch the scene from from a different perspective. It's very interesting because it's a fiction, but in the same time, it's also a documentary about people who are constructing a fictive scene. This is a very subtle difference. So for me, this was very interesting, and I felt a little bit like as if I was watching a documentary of people who were constructing a scene, a sort of ritualistic scene also, because they are through this scene they are expressing something that maybe they couldn't express in their everyday life, and so they need to create this fictive scene.
Yes, it's very interesting what you said, because sometimes you need a kind of frame which has been conceived very precisely, which permit things to appear, and in a kind of cinematographic ways, but also in a kind on the level of the speak and all the collective diagnostic, and I'm very happy that you feel this kind of emerging thing created by this combination of past and present, and also archive material and documentary fictional thing, because they are both mixed actually, because this sequence, I mean, I wrote it, I create the dialogue, we try to make a kind of pictures of this collective body, which all the part of the body could maybe make a kind of root. But it was very important for me to let them also have the text in their own ways. And it was very funny to do it all together, but also very complicated, because working with your family, I didn't thought that it was so difficult in a way. Because also it was during the pandemic, the COVID, so we were not able to work a lot all together. So we made a lot of work by distance with the text, how they can have it in the mouth and how they can feel it. And but it's very difficult also for non-professional actors, because they are non-professional, except my little sister, the one who is pronouncing her dreams. She's in a theater school, so she has a little tools. And it was funny because she was there during the time I was not. So she tried to make my family some exercise of theater. And in this way, it was very important for us also to live this all together, to find this collective energy of sharing the work. And yeah, it was interesting.
Great. Yeah. No, it's also interesting for me to know this backstage aspect of the film. And and really, I felt really that scene, those fictive scenes where your family is acting, are I just I really felt they are interesting for that reason, because it's like those scenes where documentary and fiction are completely mixed, and you cannot understand anymore where's the separation line between the two. What is staged, and what is staged, and what is real. So, and that's maybe the magic of cinema somehow, that the moment when you through the process of shooting, then something is created, something unexpected. So yeah, that was very interesting. Okay, so I just want to ask you one last question about your future project. I mean, the projects maybe you are working on now, or if you have any project that you will work on in the future.
Yes, actually, I'm working on a new film project. So I'm beginning to write now. I'm in the process of making some research, because also I process like this. I made a lot of research, combining a lot of inspiration and think, and so I'm very, very in the deep process now of this. And it will be short film, I think, and I think not so far from this one, in this kind of documentary and fiction mixture. And it will be a film talking about humanity as prey. I mean, how about the deny we made to belong to the food chain. And about the fact that why it is so horrific and complicated to think about ourselves as food, as flesh for the other. And it's inspired, but I think I will not put it in stage, but it's inspired by a story which has been told by Val Plumwood, which is a philosopher, Australian philosopher, who has made a kind of very violent meeting with a crocodile while she was trekking in Australia. I mean, she was on a canoe. I don't know if it's correct in English. And it's funny because it's a philosopher who tries all her life to think about this separation between nature and culture. And when she was in her canoe, she met this so big predator of the human, which is the crocodile. And the crocodile how you say in English, attack her,
Mhm.
and she was almost dying in the river, but in a kind of miracle way, she just wake up in near the river, and this accident totally changed her way of thinking the world. And yeah, for me it was very kind of big inspiration to begin to think about this next movie. And yeah, it's also, I think it's linked with this one, because for Pneuma, talking about the vegetal world is a way of maybe have this question that if maybe the lack of consideration we have for life itself, it's that, and for the vegetable world, is because we do not lend it a soul, and that we despise the flesh in a way, and this contradiction will certainly lead us to our own death. So for this next project, maybe it's more deep rooted in this question of being flesh, and also this kind of alimentary chain. It's also, I want to really talk about this directly. For example, I want to make some adaptation of process of animal trials. You said trial of
Trial.
animals, which has made in the Middle Age. Animals were condemned by the human justice to have eaten some some babies or some animals, and all these things, but in a more symbolic and maybe political way. Also, I want to speak about how it is to make an ecological being all together, and what how we are food for each other, but also in a kind of metaphorical each other, how we create an ecosystem of different bodies that permits each other to live and to create something. So, but it's real. For example, for now it's really abstract thinking, but I think it will be more precise in continue the process of writing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all your process. I mean, it's very interesting, and yeah, I can feel the connection between the two films somehow.
Mm,
Like, I feel maybe probably the need to really explore this feeling of separation and unity with with the universe somehow. In the end, it's like and nature for sure is the is present in this, because we are part of nature, but we sometimes we don't feel it or we forget it. That's so I think it's a very interesting and topic, and also very actual, like, no, actually is not maybe the right word in English, but very I mean, is speaking very much about also this period
yeah.
that we are living. So
Mm.
yeah, wow, great.
Thank you, Laura.
So is there anything more that you want to add, or
Not so specially. Yeah, I think
okay?
that we had a lot of exchange, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was interesting, and I hope this talk will inspire. Will inspire people also to watch your film or to search for it. We screened it yesterday here. It
Mhm.
was very much appreciated, and we will have some days in which the films will be accessible online. So for who has lost the possibility to watch it here, or for who lives elsewhere,
Mm.
they will be online. We will communicate on our Facebook page the days and how to access the films. And so, yeah, I invite everyone who watches this interview to go and watch your film, because it's really worth it. And yeah, and I'm glad that that to be able that I've been able to talk to you, and I hope to watch your future project soon.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having my film Pneuma with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck for
Thank
the
you.
future.